Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with a tournament replay for the World Cup of Pokemon 13 qualifying rounds. So right now there are currently 4 teams that are trying to qualify for the SMOGON World Cup. Team Bangladesh versus India, which is playing right now. We have Ayman X, which is on this side, versus Chaitanya. And then we also have Team Austria versus Team Benelux. So these teams are all trying to win, and they're playing pretty much in the format that World Cup is. So it's 3 Sun and Moon, 1 ORAS, 1 Black and White OU, 1 DVP OU, ADV OU, GSC OU, and RBY OU. So right here we have an Ultra Sun and Moon game between, again, Ayman X versus Chaitanya. Now I'm going to do my best to not be biased in this narration. I have no affiliation with either of these dudes. Maybe I do. I just don't recognize their names at all. But from team preview, I can just say that this Medicham is really tough for Chaitanya to want to deal with. But I'm going to do my best to not be biased towards the Medicham user just because I love Medicham myself. So let's look at team preview real quick, and I'll give you a little breakdown of how I think the other person is thinking at team preview and how their game plan. So again, I already mentioned Ayman X, his Medicham really goes in versus his opponent. Especially with the fact that a lot of Lando are Scarf these days. If it has an Headbutt, and if this is Banded T-Tar, it pretty much gets a kill whenever Tyranitar is in versus it, or Toxapex is in. I think that Chaitanya, though, what he wants to try and do is weaken Ayman X's Clefable just a little bit. He only needs about 20-30% damage on Clef to win with SD Halucha. Now, it's going to be really tough because the Clef doesn't really have to come in on anything that Chaitanya has besides potentially Toxapex, maybe as a pivot. I say that because it's not going to be coming in much on Lando. Jirachi is definitely not coming in on, especially when he has Gastrodon plus Heatran to deal with Rachi. Pex, again, that would probably be the only thing. Offensively, Medicham will be out versus it, but never comes in on Scald. T-Spikes are toxic. Tornadus would come out maybe on a Scald and try and defog, because I believe this would be his defogger. Assuming it's the common trend, this would be 3 attacks defog with Supersonic Sky Strike, which is also a pretty big threat, though it doesn't run superpower. So it can't really hit Tyranitar for super effective damage outside of U-turn. Assuming it's Scarf Lando on both sides, that could also be Stealth Rock on Scarf Lando, but because this is a really common build right now of Tornadus, Heatran, Clef, and then Gastrodon, that's actually a really common core, or at least these 2 plus Tornadus. I'm assuming that it's Stealth Rock, Clefable with Soft Boiled and Moonblast, and then its last move is more than likely Wish to Wish Pass to a Magma Storm Heatran. And then Gastrodon is just standard Spadef for Ash Greninja, Tapu Koko, and basically I believe it's Wish Pass plus Soft Boiled Magic Guard Clef, which is a really common thing running around to support Heatran because it always comes in on Scissor, which U-turns out, and it helps it with longevity, something that Heatran does not have, especially because it only has leftovers to eat from, and if they get knocked off, it doesn't matter. But I think this is going to be a game of sacks at team preview. Chaitanya is going to be trying to overpower him with Halucha, but whenever Medicham comes out, it can pretty much get a KO. Jirachi could be Spadef, as he does not have a real solid Lele answer. So either Spadef Rachi or AV Bulu, or SD Bulu plus Grassy Seed. That's already a given on Halucha. Bandit Tar or Megatar is the option right here. I think that Bandit Tar is a little bit more likely. Obviously, I know the outcome of the game, but I'm also, again, I'm just trying to give you guys a breakdown. I'm sorry that I'm talking so much, but I want to give you guys a full breakdown of it. Banditar is more likely because I believe it breaks a little bit easier, or at least weakens things a little bit easier for Halucha, right? Like, for example, Gastrodon is 2-KO by Banditar's Crunch. Clef is 2-KO by Stone Edge. Stone Edge either Okos, easily Okos Tornadus. Offensive Landers is easily 2-hit KO'd. Even defensive Landers is 2-hit KO with Rocks Up, but I'm thinking it's more likely Scarf for some sort of speed control. So Banditar on preview can put in a lot of work if it's able to get in, and he does have 2 potential U-turns. Obviously Landorus is more likely running U-turn, but Jirachi as well to get it in, and that's good because Jirachi lures in Gastrodon as well as Heatran, and Bantar can come in on both of those and just click Crunch for a 2-hit KO on both. So I think that's his way of breaking through. He's going to try and use Bantar to break through, and I think Ayman X is just going to be clicking High Jump Kick, Ice Punch, and Headbutt with Medicham, doing his best just to get it in because The bad thing about Chaitanya's team is it's so weak to this mon that even if Banitar gets a KO, then Medicham just comes out and does the exact same thing. So it'll be a game of sacks, and I think that the matchup is definitely in this guy's favor. But yeah, let's start it off. So we see a Landers lead versus a Landers lead. Not a bad matchup to start, especially because we do see Intimidate come out first from this Landers versus this. So assuming they're both Scarf, it's either this Landers is faster or it was a speed tie, but a lot of Landers these days are not running max speed. In fact, even Scarf Landers isn't running that much attack, if any attack. A lot of them are running HP, defense investment, and the rest in speed, allowing you to safely check Pokemon like Zygarde and whatnot without giving up your speed to outspeed Pokemon like Tapu Koko. So we do see more than likely a Scarf Landers lead early on. We do see an HP Ice come out. Now that's really, really solid for Chaitanya because he gets the Landers weaken for Lucha. That's what you need on. That's literally the damage you need on Landers already. In fact, I would argue that it was not the best play for him staying in right here, but I do think that Ayman also made a good play. Like in hindsight, you see this turn too, why him sacrificing HP was a really solid play because he's able to U-turn right out, confirm that Scarf Landers, and get in his Medicham, and Medicham just picks up a KO. Honestly, that's Landers locked in HP Ice. This is a free as hell high jump kick for this guy. As Jirachi is going to come in, maybe on an Ice Punch or Zen Headbutt, and look how much it does. And that's absolutely terrible for Chaitanya. I believe, like I said, he expected the Zen Headbutt or I Jump Kick, and then Zen Headbutt or Ice Punch, and what he planned on doing was protecting. So a really aggressive play he could have made right here was go Toxapex on the high jump kick. At the same time, though, as you see from this guy, like he doesn't care what comes in on Medicham at all, as long as he lands high jump kicks. And right here, we are going to see a Protect come out from Jirachi, hoping he go for a double high jump kick, but he does go for the safe Zen Headbutt. It would be able to knock out Jirachi, as well as Ice Punch also being able to knock it out, but that also hits Toxapex for like 90% upon switching. I don't know if that's adamant damage as well. I know that's max HP Jirachi for sure, but Spadef. But we do see Protect, so that means that was more than likely a Wish, Protect, Jirachi, Iron Head, potentially Stealth Rock, unless it's Stealth Rock on Scarf Lando. But I think that Defog, Scarf Lando, and Stealth Rock, Iron Head, Wish, Protect, Rachi. So as you can see right here, Medicham is going to be able to claim its first KO on the Jirachi with the Ice Punch. Now, we are going to see a Landers come out. Now, again, this is like the only play that Chaitanya can really make. Even if it was like Scarf Tard, he wanted to bluff the Scarf Tard, doesn't knock out Medicham. Scarf Landers does not knock out Medicham either. Bulu could come in, but Bulu would invite in the Tornadus, and Tornadus can live every hit from Bulu outside of like a Banded Stone Edge, or I think a max attack Adamant Bloom Doom if it's not a defensive Tornadus. So he kind of had to go Landers right here and go for the U-turn because, again, Earthquake does not knock him out as he U-turns out into Toxapex, and Ayman just makes the really nice play. It was honestly his best play, just clicking his Zen Headbutt, because if he brought in Tyranitar, you just get a free high jump kick and damage on Landers anyway. So I understand Chaitanya's play. It was honestly the only play he could make besides going hard Bulu to try and pressure him and weaken him, but brings out Toxapex on the Zen Headbutt. Even at -1, it does so much, and we are going to see the double out into the Landers on the next Zen Headbutt. So he makes the right play, getting in Landers right here. Again, there was no way he was going for Ice Punch there. He didn't have to. Medicham doesn't have to go for Ice Punch, and we don't see no item. We don't see an item on Toxapex, so I'm more likely to believe, especially because it wasn't Payapa Berry, since that would have been activated by the Zen Headbutt, that is a Shed Shell Toxapex for Magma Storm Heatran. So good prep on his part because he did bring a Heatran, but he brings out the Tornadus right now on the expected Earthquake. Chaitanya knows he has to make some type of aggressive play to get back in the game, so he goes for U-turn, knowing that the more likely switch-ins are either Landers or Tornadus or Clef. But Ayman X also knows that, again, as long as he doesn't let Clef get damaged, Hawlucha will always be checked by that, because we actually have a damage calc right here, just so you guys to know. I have it open just because I was running some calcs, so this is a calc that we're going to have to know. +2 Adamant Hawlucha versus Max Defense, Max HP Bold Clef does 69 to 81%. So like I said, he needs about 30% to try and go for a roll in his favor, and it's going to be a little bit difficult for him, but this is what Chaitanya is going for. So he goes for U-turn, really nice play, expecting Tornadus or Landers to come in. And this is a really, really, really solid play, because what it does is it gives him the T-Tar, and again, Banitar pretty much claims a KO. So what Tornadus can do here is, if it wants to, go for U-turn. And Chaitanya has a few plays he can do right here, right? Banded Pursuit easily knocks out Torn. Again, Torn is rarely running superpower these days. Knockoff, U-Turn, Defog, Hurricane is the most likely set. Supersonic Sky Strike, that's the most likely set. It supports his team well. It appreciates Wish support and just pivots in and whatnot, right? So Tyranitar, if it goes for U-Turn, will knock it out with Pursuit. However, that puts him in a situation where if he does knock him out with Pursuit, his switch is canceled. Like, he doesn't have a switch, and he can bring out Medicham. So that's really, really bad for him, right? Another play Tyranitar can go for is Crunch. Now, Crunch would take what the most likely switch in. If I was ayman, I would go Gastrodon. I don't think Gastrodon does anything in this game at all. You have Scarflando, a Fizdef Clef, and a Tornadus to avoid Earthquakes. So, like, that checks Landorus at that. It's not Fizdef, Gastrodon. They're always Spadef these days because of Ash Greninja. So Chaitanya could go for Crunch here as well and 2-hit KO Gastrodon, and that would give him the KO. And in fact, he would sack Gastrodon. He would never go Clef because Clef takes the 30% he needs for Acrobatics. So I think this turn, while Chaitanya did get it right and went for Pursuit to knock out the Tornadus, it's still bad for him. And I don't think any turn he made that turn would have helped him, right? Because Crunch would have 2-hit KO Gastrodon, and he still would have had Tornadus alive to pivot in on Landorus' Earthquake, to Defog, to pivot in on Bulu. So it makes sense because that gets rid of the Bulu answer, right? That was a good play because it gets rid of the Bulu answer, but Crunch would have gotten rid of Gastrodon. But what I'm trying to say is there's no play he can make right there that would not allow Medicham to come in right after and pick up a KO. So goes for Pursuit, gets rid of Tornadus, opening up that door for Bulu. Also means that he doesn't need any damage on that Pokemon because currently +2 high jump kick will knock out Gastrodon, knock out Heatran. Lando dies to +1 acrobatics, and Medicham dies to neutral acrobatics, right? So that's good because that means he doesn't need the +2 for anything besides Clefable, but he still needs damage on Clef. So Medicham comes in, easy high jump kick, no reason to predict. Sacks Tyranitar. Honestly, Chaitanya had to stay in right there and go off a potential miss. The other play he could have made, though, was gone Toxapex. I think that's the play I would have made, was gone Toxapex to sack it. But I understand him staying in too. He's trying to go off a miss. He's trying to get in Bulu on 100% of damage as well, 100% HP. That way he doesn't go down. So I understand that play, but I think in my opinion, I would have went Pex there. Because while going Pex does not give you very many Moonblast switches left, because Pex will go down to the combination of high jump kick plus then headbutt easily, it means that Bandit Tar can come in later on a U-turn from Landorus and try and get off a Bandit Crunch. But again, I already talked about Gastrodon does nothing in this game. So similar to how Toxapex doesn't do as much because Clefable is alive and Medicham and Landorus is there and even Taunt Heatran. Gastrodon doesn't do anything, so he would still always have that sat. So I think, like I said, I think that this is a game of sacks, and the Medicham user is currently in the lead, whereas the Hawlucha user is trying his best to hopefully weaken Clef and do some damage with that. So knocks him out by jump kick. He's going to be able to bring out the Landorus right now. Now, this is a turn where, again, Earthquake will knock out Medicham, and ayman does not have to make the aggressive play. He made the one play he needed to with Medicham, and I think that's always a play you can make versus Landorus. You stay in. You stay in versus Scarf Landorus if you're at full HP. If you're not at full HP, you don't. So he's going to make the safe mid-ground play. And he actually goes Clefable here, which is really interesting because Earthquake would have done a good chunk, about 40% to Clef. However, obviously Clef would have been in a position where it would always go for Soft Mode, and that would give him Bulu. But it's the same thing we're always talking about, right? Like, you'd always sack Gastrodon. So Clef was interesting because it gets a little bit of chip, but that's not going to matter at all, especially because of leftovers in grassy terrain, getting Clefable at full HP. So Bulu comes out. Now, again, his way of checking Bulu, ayman's way of checking Bulu is a faster heat run with hitting Magma Storm, assuming it's not AV Bulu, of course. We don't know if it's AV Bulu or not yet. Or Medicham getting a little bit of chip damage with Fake Out and then knocking it out with Ice Punch. So right now, there is no reason to risk Heatran at all. Gastrodon is the piece of the puzzle. We've talked about it a lot before. Gastrodon is the piece of the puzzle that does not do anything, right? Gastrodon is the piece of the puzzle that it should just go down. It doesn't do anything here. So he makes the right play, sacking Gastrodon. I think that was his best play, but we do see Swords Dance from Bulu, so this is really interesting too. That was a really nice play too because I think the Gastrodon sack was really obvious, and from full HP, Bulu doesn't die to Ice Punch from Medicham, right? So it forces Medicham to fake out one turn. Heatran has to hit Magma Storm. So that's a really nice play as well, because if Ayman wanted to misplay and get rocks up with Clef, well, actually, if he misplayed, then attacking would have been better in that turn. But again, he made the right play, which was sacking Gastrodon. Does nothing in this game. Does absolutely nothing. So he gets up an SD. He's going to be able to knock him out with Horn Leech. Great play, but it means that he can bring out Medicham. Now, because it's Swords Dance Bulu, we know it's not more likely it's not a defensive one, right? From what we know, it could be like a Swords Dance Leech Seed type of set with Protect and whatnot. I think it would reveal it, though, if he had it right here. But Medicham is good as in first initial switching. You don't want to go Heatran immediately because Heatran can miss Magma Storm, so you want to try and avoid that situation as much as possible. But keeping Tren alive in the back as well, since Tren is usually running max speed, to deal with Bulu is smart. So against Medicham, this gives him the opportunity to go for Fake Out and then follow it up with an Ice Punch, assuming it's offensive. If he saw the damage from Fake Out, he would know it would be offensive, and then he can go for Ice Punch after. If he did not see the damage from that, he probably would have switched out, honestly, into Heatran at some point. But follows up with his headbutt as Toxapex is going to go down. Again, this is a game of sacking. We are going to see the Landers come out right now, and Landers does threaten the Medicham with Earthquake, so Ayman is going to go out into his own Landers. Good play. At this point, yes, Earthquake is a giant threat, but it's less likely that he'd go for HP Ice right now. So Earthquake is a giant threat to this guy, but Clefable can put Landers in range of Fake Out, and Landers at least avoids the own Earthquake. So that's like his best. I think that's his best play to go for to knock out Medicham, obviously. But Chaitanya makes the aggressive play right now and goes for U-turn. Very, very, very solid play. Being able to potentially bring out the Bulu right now. So really nice. Again, he's playing. He's doing what he has to because, again, that Medicham is a giant threat, right? He's doing exactly what he needs to do to try and bring himself back in this game. I think what he's trying to do is put himself in range to potentially crit Clefable. So he's doing what he needs to do. He's playing the aggressive way that he needs to do to hopefully open up a door for a critical hit versus Clef, because that's honestly what he has to do at this point. So Bulu comes out. Chaitanya makes like a last-ditch effort type of all-out pummeling play, trying to catch the Heatran. But again, you don't really have to sack Heatran versus Bulu. Though at the same time, it's really interesting right here because the Earthquake from Landers could be a threat, especially because Clefable is going to be forced to take a hit, right, from Hawlucha. It's going to be forced to take a hit from Hawlucha. But we are going to see the Landers go down. I understand that play completely, but HP Ice was able to put the Bulu in range of Ice Punch. At this point, Ice Punch is going to pick up a KO, either on Bulu, Landorus, or the Lucha. And you don't sack Landorus here because Landorus is Scarf, so it can outspeed Medicham and Heatran. And if Medicham does not have a Fake Out left or two, it can't deal with Landorus. So this allows him to bring out the Lucha. And right here, he's in a situation where, okay, he can either Acrobatics, knock out Medicham, but then he still needs to crit Clefable anyway, right? He still needs to crit Clefable anyway, or he can SD predicting Clefable. Ayman's best play, in my opinion, is always going Clefable, I think, because even if he SDs up, you still get the Moonblast damage. It does about, like, I think 93% max to most Hawluchas to put it in range of Fake Out, right? But goes for the Acrobatics right now, which unfortunately with the grassy terrain recovery is actually not enough to 3-hit KO him, which is pretty bad. So his own grassy terrain working against him right there. But he gets off the Acrobatics play, and basically Clefable can easily just throw off a Moonblast. He can't knock out Clefable with the next one. Even for crit, he won't be able to knock him out. So he had to SD right there. And I think the only play that he could have made differently to be a little bit more aggressive, especially because he'd been aggressive versus Medicham, was SD up initially and then go for the crit in that specific turn. Because as you can see, maybe even not getting the crit, would the crit even have mattered, to be honest? Because he SDs, right? He SDs, he Acrobatics, it does 80%. He always lives Moonblast, right? And then Acrobatics or High Jump Kick picks him up another kill. Clefable is in range of Earthquake at that point, and so is Medicham and Heatran. So, and then he would be forced to Fake Out. He'd be forced to Fake Out to knock out Lucha. Landers comes out, can Earthquake, pick up Medicham and make out Heatran. So that might have been a potential 50-50, assuming he didn't have 2 Fake Outs left. Because how the endgame ends up happening is, because of grassy terrain, he's out of range of this Acrobatics, ends up living it, knocks him out with the Moonblast, and Landers comes in. It's going to end up going for Earthquake, and that'll be able to knock out Clef. But Medicham just comes in, faked out, does enough to the point where he can just sack Heatran, come back in with Medicham, and win the game, right? But I think the only play he could have made differently because basically it was a sack game for Medicham the entire time, right? The entire game was a sack game for Medicham the entire game. So the only play I think he could have made differently was would that have even worked? I don't think with acrobatic. I feel like with grassy terrain, it didn't matter what play he made right there, because that was the last turn of grassy terrain. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think it still always came down to a crit on Clef. Like you needed to SD and then crit Clef. I think that was the only way he could win because of his own grassy terrain, right? Because at that point, assuming +2 acrobatics didn't, with grassy terrain, didn't put. Okay, so if he got the low roll, let's say he got this low roll, right? So I think that's how he also could have won. If he SD'd up there and went for acrobatics, if he got that low roll on Clefable, then all ayman had to do was sack Heat Ran to then bring in Medicham Fake Out. And then with grassy terrain recovery, Clefable actually lives Earthquake from Landorus. I don't know, it's tricky. I honestly think that what he had to do was crit. But you guys can say otherwise in the, I would say in the chat, but in the comment section. But I think because of his own grassy terrain, the fact that the Clefable was not recovering 6% but 12% per turn made the huge difference as well right there. But at the end of the day, he needed a crit on the Clefable, and the only way that would have been different if he did sack Heat Ran and go Medicham and click Fake Out was if the Hawlucha ended up being roost, and it roosted on the Heat Ran sack. If like he SD'd right there, and then acrobatics, he saved Clef because it can live one Earthquake, right? But at that point, if like let's say, because in that situation, right, he's forced to Fake Out, right? He's down to 2 Pokemon. It's Medicham plus Heat Ran or Medicham plus Clef versus Hawlucha. He fakes out the Hawlucha, and then Landorus comes in, and it comes down to if Landorus knocks it out with Earthquake. I don't know. I think he had to go for SD and then go for a crit. I think either way, it always came down to a crit, though. And I don't think Chaitanya played poorly at all. In fact, I think it was a really solid game. The only thing maybe in hindsight he could have done differently was try and U-turn more out into into Bandit T-Tar and just punch some holes. But we already clearly discussed that ayman had the sack in Gastrodon that he needed every single time to be able to bring out Medicham after and click high jump kick, but then it would have always been coming down to U-turn versus Medicham 50-50s, which he seems to have won the entire time, and bring out Bandit T-Tar and keep crunching, right? So I think that's the only thing that Chaitanya could have done, but it's hindsight. And again, I think he played well despite the poor matchup, in my opinion, because again, Medicham just dunked on him. That's what it really did, and it wasn't his fault. So I think it was a good game on both sides. I hope I wasn't too biased towards the Medicham user, because I think that the matchup was severely in his favor. But I tried my best to explain both sides of the, both sides of the thought process. But I do hope you guys all enjoyed. Of course, if you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Bangladesh is currently 1-1 versus Team India. I'll post this right now, but they have the India has their first win in RBOI OU, and Bangladesh has their first win in Sun and Moon OU. So hope you guys all enjoyed. Of course, if you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends.